In the heart of the state-of-the-art, at the dawn of the next stage in entertainment, you found No Proscenium.
You have indeed found No Proscenium, the voice of everything immersive. I'm your host, Noah Nelson, and welcome to episode 364. This week on the show, Mr. and Mischief, known to their friends and admirers as Jeff and Andy Crocker, are here to talk about their latest show, 40 Watts from Nowhere, which is coming home to Los Angeles this November after a triumphant run at the Without Walls Festival in San Diego. I got to experience it there, and let me tell you, this is one of my favorite shows of the year. It's an experiential documentary, yes, those are a thing, that puts you and a small group into the shoes of Sue Carpenter, who ran the pirate radio station KBLT out of the closet of her apartment in Silver Lake back in the late 90s. And since you're Sue, that means that you will be running said pirate station for an hour, in a sense, as you also experience beats from Sue's memoir, which gives the show its title, 40 Watts from Nowhere. NoPro Patreon in LA. NoPro Patreon backers in LA. If you haven't seen the notice already, stick around to the end to find out what... NoPro Patreon backers in LA, if you haven't seen the notice already, stick around to the end to find out what's waiting for you in the backer feed. For everyone else, check those show notes. As you might know, we also have a few events we're involved with coming up, with just a handful of tickets left for the Denver Immersive Gathering, which is coming up on November 4th through 6th. I'll be setting up attendees' schedules this weekend, possibly while you are listening to this, and I look forward to seeing many of you there. And a whole lot of you will get to meet up in New York City for the sold-out immersive meetup at Gymnopedia on November 14th, hosted by our friends at House World with their show Bottom of the Ocean, and with our own Ali Murata moderating the night's panel. Finally, I may be taking this weekend and the days around it as a break, but our Patreon campaign never ends. And I want to thank our latest and a few returning backers, plus our latest sustaining backer. Let's start with that sustaining backer, Win Thorne, who has upped their pledge into the top tier. But that's not all this week. We've also got Michael Terragarver, Moose Mammoth, Corinne Anwicks, Stacey H. Hernandez, and Lee Derrick, all helping to keep this ship afloat. We stand right now at 392 backers, just 8 away from 400, and only $13 in pledges from hitting the midway point of our campaign super goal of $5,000 a month, which would fully fund our efforts here. So that we're halfway to the goal. So that means $2,500. So don't get too excited. But get excited. So if you can, please jump in. If you're a backer who maybe hasn't gotten any Patreon updates in a while, it could be because your card declined. There were about 100 of those who I reached out to for the first time last week, some of them going back years. And I'm not entirely sure that the, hey, your credit card declined message went through, which would be ironic. But it would mean the world to me if we could hit those two goals this month, especially maybe over the weekend, because, my birthday. Anyway, if you're able, please back us at www.patreon.com/NoProscenium. And if you already do, or if times are tight like they are for me, take a moment to drop us a review on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice and help spread the word. It's silly, but it really helps. We're also on the lookout for community partners who are up for working out special deals for our backers, just like Jeff and Andy did, like our friends at Bottom of the Ocean did. Hit me up at noah@noproscenium.com for details. maybe there's something in the works, maybe for people not in LA or New York. Something's cooking. But don't, I probably shouldn't have said that because the ink's not dry, but something's cooking. As always, big thanks to our sustaining backers, Ari Hurston, Chris Woolman, Samantha Davison, Eric Shamlin, Elaine, Jay Bushman, Jerome Joseph Genties, and congratulations on getting your show Unbound up in Palm Springs soon, Jerome. Wynn Thorne, David Bassick, Richard Ayers, Lonnie Hands-On, Sydney Guillory, and Jan Budman. Thank you all. And stick around for afterwards, and I'll give you a little sneak peek at what's coming up on our next couple of episodes and what we've got coming up after the bye week. Oh boy, I can't wait to tell you, except I'm going to wait to tell you the entire podcast long. This interview, though, this is so fun. Don't skip ahead. This is the most fun I had in a while, and I've had a lot of fun lately. We are broadcasting to you live from an undisclosed location, which is the home of Mr. and Mischief. That would be Jeff Crocker.
Hello.
And Andy Crocker.
Howdy.
You can figure out which one's the Mr. and which one's the Mischief. I did it in order, don't worry. And they are two of our favorite creators here on the Los Angeles immersive scene. You may know them from such shows as... I was about to do a Troy McClure, sorry. I was so tempted.
Lean into it.
Yeah, I should have just done it. Why did I call it out? Escape from Godot, which almost sounds, let's be honest, that sounds a bit like a Troy McClure movie. You may know me from such movies as Escape from Godot and 40 Watts from Nowhere.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, why didn't I just do that? Jeez.
You did.
I should just take it over again. Anyway, so we're here. I'm a little loopy. It's towards the end of the day for me. It's towards the end of the day for Jeff and Andy as well. And they've got some work coming up. We'll get to that in a bit here. Very excited to talk about that. But also, Andy just wrapped work on something that's running right now in a couple of places in the country, and that would be Tricks and Treats, not or, and Treats. And I wonder if you could tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super exciting. And if you live in the San Francisco Bay Area or in the Shakopee, Minnesota area.
I'm shocked it's in Shakopee.
Shocking Shakopee. At Valley Fair or California's Great America, you can come see this new park takeover. That basically those two parks are reimagining Halloween. They're retiring their previous more traditional theme park haunts. And I was brought in to kind of help creative direct and reimagine what Halloween looks like if it's for everyone and not just people looking to have the pants scared off of them.
So it's not just hanging chunks of meat everywhere?
No, but now I want to figure out a family-friendly meat chunk hanging situation.
Well, I mean,
Save that for Christmas.
I like that basically implies that maybe Halloween is just a deli.
I go to certain mazes, it sure does feel that way.
Yeah. So. And I think the thing, they came to me with this question originally, or a whole group of us in this charrette, and the question was, what is a family-friendly haunt look like? And my big sort of thing that I keep repeating over and over again is that, family-friendly is this term that I feel like means something different than we intend it to, that family is this... family-friendly people assume that means you have little kids. And I really was pushing for something that if you didn't have a kid, it wouldn't be weird if you were there. And so I really wanted to pivot from the idea of family-friendly to Halloween for everyone, meaning that it still feels like Halloween, but the point of it is not terror. The point of it is to celebrate the season hard
Why,
style.
back in my day, we called that four-quadrant entertainment.
That's exactly right. And so we did this... that was the sort of pivot and the idea behind it. And we spent the year building this new show product, event, park takeover. Everyone made a face when I said show product.
Yeah, show product sounds like the Velveeta of experiences.
Listen, I didn't.
The Globocorp Entertainment.
Well, it's
Globocorp presents show product.
it's also like
4.
53 shows really,
okay.
and it's
That's true.
it's more than an overlay. Less than a whole new park. It's 4 lands. We totally, took over with all these events of the season. And I feel like I could give a whole TED talk on that, but that's not what
can.
tonight's about.
No, but I do think that the way you've been talking about what family friendly is and what family is and what Halloween is and isn't is really, I think, unique.
So the thing I always say about family friendly is that a contemporary view of what family is what we're trying to create, which is like family is your chosen family. Family is multi-generational. Family is your work posse, your squad, your best friends, the person you're on a date with that you're hoping to start a family with. All of those are incorporated in how we like to view family friendly. And so that's why we ended up with calling it Halloween for everyone.
Will it be scary?
You cannot determine what is scary for someone.
What do you mean?
Jeff has heard me make this. Jeff has listened to me present this deck so many times at this point.
This is true, but also, I think this is a unique example. There's a couple of unique examples of like what is scary, because scary is not always just clown with chainsaw.
No,
It's scary for me is never a clown with chainsaw.
What
right?
is scary for you, Noah?
So, I mean, the most freaked out I've been, say, in a movie was Blair Witch Project. Because it's all tension, and then just at the end, and the standing in the corner, and I can still remember the sound I made when you saw Mike in the corner, and it was just this big, ooh, it was just this like guttural woof of, and then the movie just kind of ends 5 seconds later.
That's right.
And then we just all came out of that movie theater in various states of shock, and then saw that Sci-Fi was going to have like a Leonard Nimoy style special the next weekend, and we all got back. The same people got back together in someone's house and watched the fake history of Blair Witch. So, like, it's the stuff that's just like unnerving, and it's the thing on the rooftop that just moved. Did that move?
I was going to say, for our listening audience, Noah did just point to our actual rooftop, and it did frighten me a little bit. I bought that.
It's the cats staring at the ceiling, and there's nothing there, but you're like, wait, does the cat see something I don't? Those are the things that get to me.
You know what scares me? Getting into a ride share and seeing the check engine light on.
Are you being serious?
Yeah. How long has that been on? Am I going to get to the Burbank airport on time?
Wow. Chilling. That was chilling.
You have that nightmare every night, don't you?
What is scary, Andy?
What is scary to me?
Yeah.
Personally? I don't like stairs. I think this is a fact about me. I don't like watching people go up or down stairs. I find scares to be scary. Now who's tired and loopy? And I think the example I always love to give is, I love to give 2 examples. One is that well-known fact, Tyra Banks, afraid of dolphins. And our daughter loves Godzilla, loves monsters, super into haunted mansions, super into goblins, etc. Scared of bubblegum. Like, you just can't determine what is scary to anyone, especially not a kid.
I stand by bubblegum.
Because if you don't know what's happening...
If you've been on the earth for 4 years and never seen a pink bubble emerge from someone's face, that is scary.
Yeah, I could see that being shocking.
So when I'm talking about Halloween things, I just say you can't promise a scare-free Halloween. That's not a thing. Also, a Halloween without facing any fears is not Halloween. So, and then it's just fall, which is fine.
So if people are seeking out a scare at Tricks and Treats, though, will they be able to?
No, probably. If someone's like, I can't wait to get terrified, it's probably not the event. But it is like very spooky. There's like a whole land called Spooky Spires that's all like New Orleans jazzy haunted feeling, and there's a land called Ickyville, which is like Garbage Pail Kids, zombies, gross out 90s. So it really still has all that like Halloween feeling. It's just without the startles. And really at the core of it, the thing that we've done is that we changed the relationship of guest and monster so that it's not adversarial, it's collaborative. And so guests and monsters are collaborating to celebrate Halloween together.
Oh, cool.
And so you still have all your monsters, your just relationship with them is different. They're not out to get you, they're out to party with you.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's really at the core of it, is just that flip.
I like that. Also, jump scares I tend to find boring. Like being startled, like, okay,
I'm not a fan.
You like a slow burn tension.
I love a slow burn.
I also love a slow burn
tension. Yeah, a big reveal, and then you're just like, oh god,
I will say, since we are on,
although alien jump scare level, just like Alien, like
sure.
Oh god, yeah, that's Alien though. That's a masterclass.
I can't remember where. Maybe we were having dinner with David or something. We were talking about. So many people have this experience of, they say, I was a theater person and I lived my life and then I saw Sleep No More. It's like there's that like pivot. And honestly, for me, a huge pivot in my life was seeing The Willows, because I did like being scared. I was like, do not make me go to a haunt. Like, no gracias. And our friend Malcolm was like, you need to see this. It's different. And I had never been so scared.
I think I asked Malcolm before we went, like, is it scary? He's like, no, it's spooky. It's spooky, but it's not scary. And then I would agree with that. I think it's super spooky. It's scary depending on who you are. And then one of the people in this relationship was the one chosen at the end. One of those people is the one that doesn't like scary things. And one of those people, life changed after him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, changed my life. That was a pivotal moment in my career as a director and as a person, as a consumer of media, and understanding fear in a different way and how powerful that can be in storytelling.
So now we'll head 180 degrees and 40 watts from nowhere.
Rock and roll.
Boom! To talk about that show. And I had the pleasure of seeing it in its first incarnation at Without Walls.
Yeah.
I guess its first public incarnation, because you stood it up to test it out, right?
But it was for the service of Without Walls.
Exactly. I can be a little pedantic sometimes. Someone just really drank. I don't want to give away too much about the show, because it was such a delight. At least I don't want to. You guys give whatever the hell you want. It's your choice. So I don't want to spoil it here, but what is
I was gonna say, the good news is there's not much to spoil.
Yeah.
Because it's based on a book.
Oh, that's right.
It's based on the book 40 Watts from Nowhere by Sue Carpenter.
Are we supposed to talk about it now?
Yeah. It's based on a book. I read the book years ago now, right? It wouldn't have been years ago if it wasn't for the.
Yeah, I think rewind back to where you found it, because that's fun. Jeff was like, we do site specific and site responsive stuff. Let me look into stories from our neighborhood. Like, what are the tales told about where we live? And that's how this whole thing started.
Yeah, it was sort of looking through sort of the esoteric, obscure history of the east side of Hollywood, and stumbled across a blog post that talks about how Silver Lake used to have a pirate radio station. And I distinctly remember looking it up and doing more research and finding an article about Sue Carpenter and going, okay. And I wrote down Sue Carpenter, and then finding a article that was sort of a write-up of an MTV News segment about the proprietor of KBLT named Paige Jarrett. It's like, okay, wrote down Paige Jarrett, and tried to research, and never could find out where these two were ever in the same room at the same time talking about KBLT. And so finally got a copy of Sue's book, and lo and behold, not a huge spoiler, they're the same person. And Paige Jarrett was Sue's alter ego while she was running KBLT out of her closet in Silver Lake.
And Jeff read the book in like a night, 2 nights.
Great read.
Woke me up and was like, I think this is our next show. I read it, and then we went, okay, she's a little bit older than us. It takes place in our neighborhood. I wonder if we could find her, if she's still around. And God bless my Facebook moms group. I posted, does anyone know Sue Carpenter? And I'm not exaggerating. 10 minutes later, someone was like, yeah, here's her number. She's expecting a call from you. And that's how we found our urban legend, badass Sue Carpenter, the Facebook moms group. There's nothing more badass than a Facebook moms group.
Who said Mark Zuckerberg never did anything for art?
Exactly.
Yes, thank you, sir, for your service.
So you found the book, you found Sue, and then I once in a while docu-theater happens, right? Someone takes something that was real. There's some very famous examples of it. I don't know of docu-immersive theater. I don't think I've ever seen someone do something that was based on someone's real experience and try to put you into their shoes, other than maybe a few like charity event things they'll kind of put you into a theoretical person, but not an actual like this particular individual.
Yeah, we've been referring to this as an experiential documentary.
Yeah,
in that sense.
Yeah.
The only other one of note that I can think of, please correct me when I'm wrong, is Lance Weiler's Where There's Smoke.
You're right. But I don't. Catherine's seen that one. She's not here. She's working for Meta these days, so that's why she's not here. The cat is finally out of the bag on that. And like they won't let her play with us anymore. We had to sign legal documents. I'm serious. We actually had to. And I don't know if you're embodied as him or his father.
That's a good point.
In
that's
that
a good
one,
point.
right? Like it's totally documentary, but I don't know if you get put into, a particular person's shoes. I could totally imagine that is what would happen. It's a piece I'd love to see someday.
Yeah.
Hi, Lance. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that is our angle on it, is that you are, you spend a day in the life of this real person.
Yeah.
And the tricky thing is, how do you tell a true story that you can't change the ending?
Yeah.
Because that's how it happened, and still allow it to really be experiential and really give you some not the illusion of choice, but some real choices, even if they're not narrative, even if they're not gonna, you can't escape the fate of the real thing that happened, because we really wanted to stay true to her story. And I will say, one of the things in talking to the real Sue that she was excited about was that we weren't going to put extra stuff on top of it. We weren't going to add extra twists and turns. We really stuck pretty authentically to the true facts as she remembered them.
Yeah.
Sometimes we ask her things and she's like, I don't know. So I think that there had been some people that had wanted to tell this story in different ways before, but they always wanted to sort of add.
They want to jazz it up.
They want to jazz it
wanted
up.
to jazz it
and
up.
we didn't. We really didn't. We wanted to keep it small and real. And
I say this a lot because the story, right? I would agree with that. There's not necessarily a car chase. The FBI, spoilers, doesn't smash in the door and raid the radio station. But that doesn't mean there's not drama and thrill and fun and excitement.
Well, and there's that on the narrative level, but then also just on the day-to-day operational stuff, like the minutiae of running the station.
Yeah.
Because you are put into her shoes. You're given the role of there's actually multiples of you who are given the role of being her, and in that group you find yourself in, you get into a rhythm of figuring out, like, well, how are you going to do this act collectively? How are you going to act as this person collectively? And how are you going to run the station? And in that, there's a little drama to it. Like there's challenge and happy, fun, collaborative tension.
Yeah.
I think something we learned in Godot that I think has become sort of a core of our work, both together and elsewhere when we're consulting on stuff, is that there is that someone speaking up in a group might be their biggest scare. That might be their biggest triumph. That talking into a microphone might be as thrilling to somebody as solving a puzzle or facing a zombie or any of those other things that are sort of
jumping out of a plane.
Or jumping out of a plane. And that's something that I sort of feel like is internalized from having taught a lot of improv. But also that we call them social puzzles, right? That or this collaborative problem solving could be 100 times more challenging to somebody than a cipher. Or I mean, we experienced this in Godot
quite a bit,
so many times.
Yeah.
Whether it's speaking up in a group, reading out loud, stepping onto stage.
That's my favorite.
That's Jeff's favorite part.
Oh my gosh, watching. To watch for an Escape from Godot, to watch people, like, sometimes there will be audiences that like just writhe in agony about the notion of having to get on stage,
and other people just do it in like 2 seconds flat.
Some people just jump right up.
But but I think that those small dramas, those internal leaps.
Yeah.
I think if we were putting a bunch of stuff on top of it, it might take away from that.
Yeah, putting a hot mic in front of someone and saying, there's dead air. Play a song, introduce it. Let's go.
Spoilers.
It's okay. I'll let you guys spoil. I didn't want to say it. I talk about all the my endorsement of this show is, I haven't gotten to operate in that mode in some number of years because, back in high school, this is why I do any of the radio stuff at all, right? Like, there was a summer where there was like a radio station program for teens, and I wound up going, and I wound up becoming the news guy, and all my friends were doing the DJ stuff. And then it wasn't until like the second year of doing it and being an employee that I started taking, it was actually, we had every Friday night on KPFB, which was KPFA's repeater station in Berkeley. So it went about 6 blocks. And every Friday night we had the time slot, and in between, and 3 times a year we had classes, and we would teach, and the teenagers would teach other teenagers. But in the downtime in between, we had the station, and so we got to use the station. Like Friday night was our slot, so we had to keep the show going on. You had 2 hours, you got to fill it. And so I then started to take some shifts and
doing the news.
No, DJing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that was when I got to DJ. So I was the first year. I never did a DJ shift. I always did the news, and I was the only person doing the news. No one else wanted to do the news, so I did the news every Friday night. I loved it. But then I got to do the DJing part, and I wound up really loving that too. That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, and so getting to DJ again in this show. Oh God, it was just, kid in a candy store, it's dropping me right back in.
I mean, this really says something, but like my greatest dream has always been to be just famous enough that I could be a guest DJ somewhere. Like just like in my wildest dream, it's like this person that most people don't know, we're going to let her choose some songs for you. Like that's to me like
bring a crate of records.
Oh my God, that KCRW guest DJ spot, like this chef is gonna play records. Like, man, what a dream!
How can I get famous enough to be a guest DJ?
Just enough, not even a hair more. Yeah. That's all I want. But then this show lets you do it.
Yeah,
every night.
Every night. But you got to share.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Sharing is a puzzle.
Sharing
can be a puzzle.
And some people don't want to get on the mic, and so Although I think in my group, I forced everyone. I became station manager very quickly. You gotta get on, go, don't let it. And then when dead air was coming, I nearly started to have a panic attack because that was the thing that was drilled into us, like no dead air.
I think you in particular, like I think we watched you. We were like, oh, Noah will not let this dead air happen.
No.
you were the keeper of the flame.
No,
very clearly.
Dead air. No dead air. It was drilled into me when I was 16 years old. Like no dead air. That's money. That's money being bled out.
Or tunes. That could be the next best tune out there.
And I'm trying to remember what Sue said. I think she said no swears, no dead airs. She had some sort of rhyme.
Yeah.
The cheap, like even though they were pirates, those were their rules.
So you did it down in San Diego, and now you're bringing it where? Where is it going to be?
Where it belongs.
Right where it belongs, in Silver Lake.
Oh, sweet.
So we are literally blocks from the actual scene of the crime.
A very short walk
Literal
from the
crime
original closet where this was. Yeah, the show takes place in Silver Lake, and it was super fun working with Amy Ashton down at La Jolla Playhouse to help get this thing going. And we were thrilled to get to do it. And now we're thrilled to bring it all the way up to Silver Lake.
You got to do it for the WoW audience, and that's a festival audience. It's a theater going audience, or they're looking for experimental theater stuff. Obviously, we've got the immersive community here in LA. I'm really excited they get to explore and experience it. Who else are you hoping discovers this?
Oh, that's a great question.
Such a good question.
Andy?
Well, I do feel like there is something to this show that people who might not go see a play might come to this. People that love music, love LA, like LA history nerds, music nerds.
Experience nerds?
Well, that's us.
Yeah.
That's the people in this room right now.
But I think this is I shouldn't say experienced nerds. People that are interested in getting into some sort of immersive or experiential. This is, I think, a great indie production that is really intimate and really exciting, and maybe not necessarily a haunt. And I think that's exciting. Well,
and I will say, I think, going back to sort of our origin story of finding Sue, one of our first conversations with her was explaining the kind of work we did. This is not her world, right? She's a journalist. She's a pirate radio DJ. She's a motorcycle instructor. She is not a immersive theater person. But when we explained kind of the community we were in and the kind of work that we and our community are putting up, she was like, that's pretty punk rock. And we were like, yeah, it is. And so I think there was we never really saw that Venn diagram until she kind of pointed it out, which is that we're finding these strange spaces and exploring the media, and understanding, poking holes in things that are traditional. And she really responded to that, and
hoping not to get shut down.
Yeah.
We're a little more, legal.
Yeah, a little.
But I think there was something to the spirit of our community that that resonated with her, and I think that would resonate to other rock and roll folk.
Yeah. Well, and maybe we can stay on this for a hot second. One of the things that continues from Godot here is that y'all take a lot from the grammar and the dialectic of escape games, but use them and deploy them in entirely different ways, right? So that idea of collaborative play and sequences that involve physicality in a space in order to advance story, but again, not ciphers, not puzzles in the traditional sense, but still managing to be these embodied narrative flow experiences. And why do you find yourself keeping drawn back to that mix of form?
That's a great question. I feel like I've answered this in my head many times. Because it's fun. I think there's this notion of when I finished reading the book, just going like, yeah, let's just have people come in and run a pirate radio station. It was just sort of right there. And then of course, well, what else? There's more to it. And I will tell you, we went through many different drafts of different types of interactive experiences, but the core experience, the core thing, the core interaction that was always happening was you are there and you are running a radio station. I
think the thing is that I'm going to remind you of a thing you say all the time.
Uh-oh.
Is what is the promise we've made the audience
yes.
to the audience, and how can we help fulfill that promise at all times? And oftentimes some things that feel like a puzzle, although I don't think that's the right word. I don't know what the word is.
There are no puzzles. There are no puzzles.
Oh, yes. In 40 watts. Oh, my gosh, you guys.
There are no puzzles.
Guys. It's not an escape room. Please don't try to solve 40 watts. You're going to make me cry. But
don't worry, all the escape room people are going to come and write them up, and then they'll put it on their apps.
We legit had to put a piece of trash in the trash can that said, "This is not a puzzle. Please put this trash back." There was like actually trash at WowFest. We had to like.
And let me say, we love escape rooms. We love the escape room community.
Oh yeah.
This is not an escape.
Okay, so going back to what I was going to say is the thing. So you often talk about what's the promise we've made. And sometimes giving some limitations on the challenge, some guidelines, some clear goals is a way to help fulfill that promise. So the question could be like, how can we create a game that makes choreography happen, or blocking in the case of Godot? Like, can we create some sort of game that has people stand in a certain way so that it becomes blocking? Can we have people collaborate together to create this piece of theater? It's giving those guidelines that helps fulfill the promise.
We did a show at the Skirball right before the pandemic hit called Builder and the Dove, and it's a wordless. What do we call it? You had a great name for it.
Wordless puzzle adventure with puppets.
Wordless puzzle adventure with puppets, and the wordless part was a request from the Skirball, saying like, "Hey, we'd love for this to be language free, so that anyone traveling through Los Angeles that brings their family to Noah's Ark of any linguistic abilities can participate." And there's a combination lock in this show, that the combination is emotions, because everyone speaks emotions. Is that okay to say? I think everyone speaks emotions.
I mean, most people, many people. Anyway, it was a combination lock that was based on. Not everyone can read facial expressions. Just like you can't say something is scare free. You can't say. I mean,
that's right. That's right.
But in any case,
the point being,
but we got a bunch of kids to sort of act out different emotions, and once they repeated it enough times, it unlocked.
They could see the sequence, and the sequence was the combination.
Nice.
The box opened up.
So is it a puzzle? Kind of. Yeah. Is it also a way to get a whole group to have an emotion at the same time, so that they're experiencing what it feels like to have this Noah type character? I mean, not you, Noah, the guy from the boat.
I don't know why you guys didn't try to cast me. I mean,
because no dead air and it was wordless.
Because
wordless.
Because
the
Patreon needs you.
All this to say, in answer to your question, why some of that escape room language, we try to only use it when it's in service of fulfilling the promise, and it's less about gates and more about how we can fulfill that promise and giving people enough guidelines so that they can succeed.
So it's you're putting into the audience, you're putting into the participants like the actions, like almost in a way, or you're drawing it out of them, like the reverse of a Beckett. Right? Like you're not giving step by step, you must do this, you must do that. You're dropping a chaotic attractor at the end and watching them conform to the arc of the action. It's like, hey, keep the radio station on, no dead air. I'm not going to tell you exactly how to do that. You can figure it out for yourself, but all the pieces are there.
And we're going to make it as, I don't want to say comfortable, but right, we're going to make it as simple in concept and thrill.
It's designed to succeed. It's not designed to, except for sometimes we design things to be purposely frustrating. So I just lied.
Strike that.
Because we created an entire show that causes people to have existential crises. And then we also there are things that we create in order to make people feel things. Again, that's part of the promise.
Yeah, so I think that's an important point, which as experienced designers, there's so much of the work that is about how does it feel to be here?
Right. How
does it feel to do this?
The difference with a puzzle and an escape room is like, it's not a challenge. You're not trying to see whether or not people can beat it. It's not adversarial. It continues to be a collaborative effort.
That's right.
You've given them the injunctions. They may get frustrated. You want them to get frustrated, but they're still having the experience as intended. They're not just hitting up against a wall.
Yeah, and I'd say the frustration is a good point, because the frustration in some cases in 40 watts, frustration is a feeling we want audience to have, because that is what Sue had when she was running a pirate radio station out of her closet.
Yeah.
It was frustrating to have DJs coming in every 2 hours, 24 hours a day for like a year plus. That's crazy. What if
she constantly had people in her apartment
Yes.
running the station, talking
Yes.
in her closet?
Imagine, Noah,
how
if
could
you
she
will,
live there?
imagine, close your eyes.
No, I don't want to do this.
Imagine, if you
No.
will,
No.
your apartment,
No.
and every 2 hours,
Nope.
someone comes in with a crate of records
Hell no.
and plays noise rock
Oh no, you not doing that.
every 2 hours.
No.
And then you're trying to drift off to sleep, right?
No.
You're feeling you've had a long day,
And then someone
just
wants squar.
Keep your eyes closed.
No, God damn it. No.
and so okay, you're drifting off to sleep, and then just
Not
the
gonna
Red
do
Hot
this.
Chili Peppers just show up and play a concert in your closet, and then they leave.
Oh, and now that would be kind of cool, actually.
Oh, see, there you go. Now.
That would have been worth it. Did that actually happen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And
Multiple times she would like just be trying to live her life, and then it'd just be like, oh, I guess this is happening now.
and someone did
Talk about
upload,
a tiny
recorded
dance tiny desktop.
Yeah, exactly.
Tiny closet concert.
The original
Tiny closet concert. Yeah.
Someone did record it and upload it. It's on YouTube. You can actually hear
Oh, wow.
that show of Anthony and Flea, I think, playing in Sue's closet.
Okay, I'm gonna hunt that down tonight. Happy birthday, Flea! By the way, It was just a couple
Happy
days ago.
birthday,
Happy birthday,
Flea.
Flea.
Yeah.
Our kid goes to music lessons at Silver Lake Conservatory of Music, so
There
it's
you
a
go.
Flea's birthday is a big
Big deal.
deal.
Big
Big
deal.
deal.
Then all the kids have to sign the card.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense. I'm gonna take us somewhere entirely different for a second. We
Great.
might come back around to 40 watts, but I've got you here and ask you questions or make declarative statements and then see how you react. Which is honestly, let's be real, that's how this show actually works. So the declarative statement, y'all are busy on the career side, right? Like you Andy were back east for a while, and then you just did Tricks and Treats. Jeff, I don't know if you're being stealth mode or not. Like you're
No.
working on stuff right now. You're
I mean, I could certainly say I'm the creative producer for Impact Museums.
fantastic. We had, of course, you can listen to insert episode number here, where we talked with other folks from Impact Museums. We're not actually inserting the episode number. I just did that for effect.
Okay, great.
That was a
but-
journey, Noah.
yeah.
That was a journey.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll put it in the show notes, but I won't put it in the show notes. The point is, look it up yourselves. The point is, like a lot of folks of sort of like the class of like 2017, 2018 of like LA's DIY immersive scene, like y'all are like deep in strides in career mode, like working for big companies, working folks, who are looking to make a big impact on the scene, pun intended.
Nice.
And it's just really refreshing to see someone from that class get to come back and do one of the intimate pieces, do an art piece, and I'm excited to see that. I wonder how you guys feel about kind of trying to strike that balance.
I mean, we have to. I think that
it's intentional.
It's super intentional.
It's effortful and intentional.
It also, the work we have, the two of us, I cannot speak for anybody else that's and what, I can't speak for anybody else's deal, but for us, we've had very specific conversations about our artistic practice and our career and how they overlap and when they overlap. And I mean, basically the question is like, if someone wants to hire us to do a thing, do we do it? If someone wants to hire Mr. and Mischief to do something, like what's the kind of work we take versus the kind of work we turn down, and what's the kind of work we do in our career. And we have a lot of really intentional discussions about that. And we have made a commitment to keep Mr. and Mischief as our creative practice. It's our kitchen table, literally.
Yes.
Company. And that is really important for us to stay on our game for our other larger scale projects, both as individuals. We haven't gotten to do like a giant thing together, have we? No.
Not that I can think of.
It would be weird if I forgot it.
But you both have worked on absolutely giant things,
Sure.
separate.
But they both feed each other. I think we learn so much from the big theme park stuff and museum stuff that we bring into our small scale work, and we certainly learn so much about guest and human behavior in the more intimate work that we do. Would you agree, Jeff Crocker? Please do, because otherwise I sound like a real jerk face.
Yeah, no, exactly what you said. It's very intentional. We talk about it quite a bit. And also, I think there are times where working independently is very challenging, and it is always rewarding, and it's always a thrill to go through the whole process, all the processes, every single bit of it. Right, this was the first time 40 Watts from Nowhere is the first time I have ever optioned the rights to a book. And having the conversation with Sue's literary agent, Bonnie Nadell, about like what we were trying to do also was like a very strange conversation about like, well, it's kind of small audiences. And
have you seen Sleep No More? Oh, you haven't. Okay. Have you? Oh boy.
Literally, when she came to see the show, we walked out. We saw her, and she was like, "Oh."
We had been talking to her for 2 years at this point, and she finally came and she saw the show. It was the same weekend. Without Walls was the same weekend as the UCLA. It's not there anymore, is it? The USC Festival of Books.
Oh,
it's at USC now.
Oh, the LA Times Festival of Books.
Sure, the LA Times Festival of Books.
Yeah.
It was the same weekend. And so she's very busy as a literary agent, and she booked it down to She booked it down to
I'm gonna
San
set up a
Diego
drinking game for this one. Every time someone makes a pun, intentionally or unintentionally.
And she came out of the show and she was like, "Oh, I get it now. That was super fun."
You want to meet some of my other clients?
I mean, so I think the sort of racking focus of tiny to giant keeps us flexible and keeps us fed. I feel like artistically fed, and also literally. Actually, both. Yes, we can eat food, and also our souls are fed artistically, and I think that's important.
You mentioned that you learn a lot from the intimate stuff to scale up into the big. Is there an example of something that translated really well, like a lesson from either Godot or 40 Watts or from The Builder and the Dove that you found deploying?
First of all, I want to give credit to the person who coined this term, Sarah Parga, who is someone that worked with us on Godot, and I also taught improv with her and worked with her for a million years. And she talked, when we worked at an improv summer camp together, she always talked about the shy camper and spotting the shy camper and giving them their hero moment. And that's something that we've really tried to build into all of our shows, is find the shy camper and make sure there's something there for the shy camper. That's that person that is not going to jump on the mic or jump on the stage or say me first, and making sure there is a moment built in just for that kind of player. That's something that we do in our small scale stuff. And I think both of us really try to keep it in mind in large scale stuff. Now, instead of having one shy camper, you might have 100 shy campers or 1,000 shy campers, but making sure that there are moments for those folks that are carved out, that are ready to give them those moments. That's something that is critical. I think
an experience can't be brute forced with just the people that are, gung-ho about something, that there's always going to be space and availability for the whole range of, the divers, waders, and swimmers?
And having some interactions that are gentler, that are, meeting them on their level, that, I think that is something I feel lucky that we've been able to build into our larger scale work.
The other thing...
Cozy immersive. Sorry,
I am on board for cozy immersive.
A portmanteau popped in my head. I had to just share it.
Support.
I
support.
apologize.
No, don't you dare apologize for a portmanteau.
Episode 364, cozy immersive.
It might happen.
We use, I think many experienced designers think about this, but we like to use genre shortcuts quite a bit. So for example, Escape from Godot, it all takes place in a theater. So we're leveraging the vocabulary and the social interactions that are associated with a theater.
And that's an interesting way of thinking about site specificity or site adaptivity.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like, oh, what kind of story could we tell in this space because of the shapes of it? It's like, what kind of things happen here and how can we use that to create experience?
Yeah. Same objectivity was
Zoom site specific.
It was site specific. The site was Zoom. What do people do on Zoom? How do they behave on Zoom? And what is the genre of Zoom? So it's not even just the genre of like
Endless Nightmare. No.
Truth, legitimately. And so whether it's pirate radio or a theater piece or Zoom, those are those shortcuts that you have an understanding in a language, a social language.
Yeah.
And that is definitely something that can scale up.
Absolutely.
Let's say, for example, you're on like a fancy cruise.
That's not in the water, maybe.
I mean, whether they're in the water, space, or inside of a volcano, people behave in certain ways on cruises. So it's not the genre of whether it's in a volcano or ocean or whatever, but how the social genre is a shortcut.
Yes.
Or in a, I'm trying to think of a Halloween version from the other project because I don't want to talk about your projects or your projects to talk about.
Say you're in a toxic waste spill area and there are zombies and they just want to rock and roll.
Oh, wait, that's Tricks and Treats.
Yeah.
I was like, what show is this? I'm very into that. Jeff, are you breaking an NDA?
No, I can't talk about anything.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Jeff. I didn't mean to
That's okay.
force you to talk about something. Anyway, genre shortcuts. That's what
Genre shortcuts. Yeah. Yeah. Radio, right? That's, I think, Noah, you hit on it earlier, which is you walked into that radio station, you're like, oh no. Or also, oh yes.
It was all oh yes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah, it was only when people were like, and I was like, oh, that song is going to end and you need to talk. Be ready to go or I will scream at you. That's when the oh no happens.
Yeah.
But you just transfer that oh no to someone else and then it's no longer their problem. It's no longer your problem. That's the secret.
Right. And so you approached that from a very specific angle and experience and maybe nostalgia of radio. And we've had just as many people come at it with the same amount of vigor and fervor from just seeing a crate of records and just be like, oh, you know what that feeling is to dig through the records and flip through, and each one you're hoping to find something that you either want to play because you know it or want to play because it's weird.
And hopefully both.
And even if you're not a record person, everyone knows that social interaction of wanting to share a song you love.
Yeah.
And the format is, listen, I love me some records, but the format is less important. That is an almost universal feeling. So to tie it back to your question is like when you're working with a giant IP or with a commission, you're being commissioned by an institution to create something or a company, then it's the same thing of trying to examine what are those things that we already know people feel about this or how they interact within this thing.
And they don't need to be loud too. I think a lot of people come in, I think sometimes some of this genre stuff comes in pretty hot, and it doesn't need to. Like a lot of it is just people's expectations and previous experiences do a lot of the work for us as experienced designers.
Yeah. I think that's something people don't get about genre anymore, maybe because our culture is sort of monoculture down again in a very weird way in terms of like how we understand genre. But there's all kinds of genre conventions. There's some very quiet genres, as it were, but they have their own rules. They have ways they go, and you fall into those scripts. It makes me think of when Lauren Ludwig talks about social scripts, right?
Yeah,
it's like a similar.
That's exactly right.
It's a similar thing, right? But like different genre. I don't know. Everyone knows. I haven't even mentioned it, but like I'm watching Andor these days, right? Like as one does, and it's all like there's an arc. There was a heist movie. And like it gets into like heist movie genre conventions and things happen in a sequence and you're a little bit like, well, which type of heist movie is this? Like what's going to happen? When's this, is this beat going to drop or not? And the way they play both within and with those conventions manages to create something that actually winds up being really deep and quiet, and particularly quiet for a Star Wars, even when it goes loud.
Yeah.
Those are a couple of things. There's a few things that they've translated up. What are things that don't? What are things that seem to have a hard time making the leap from the intimate to the hey, we're gonna spend a year designing something or 2 years designing something?
What genre maybe isn't so hot on a giant scale? Just like a day in the life. It's maybe not something you want to like have 1,000 people do at the same time. Like it's just a day. I mean, although I will say that, sometimes it's like the theme is a day in a theme park. But I think there is something, there's some things that maybe are too gentle and quiet. Is that, are you giving me the challenge accepted look?
No. I think I'm just thinking of I don't want to say trope. I'm thinking of the style of theme park writing that many of our colleagues know very well, which is just like, hey, just a normal day, everybody. Oh no, everything's gone wrong. Which I used to sort of roll my eyes at, and now I'm like, you know what, man, it gets you into the action fast. It sets you up, it gets you into the action, and it can lead to something very thrilling and fun and exciting. So I understand it. That being said, I think, me personally, I tend to look at the things that are done over and over again and be like, all right, what can we do different? Yeah.
And I think you have to be, there are, trying to say this correctly. I think collaboration is different on a larger scale.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And different, not impossible. It's just it's not a direct line necessarily. There are some folks that are really incredible at getting large scale collaboration. It's just a different beast.
I think people in larger group sizes are either more likely to be with more of their friends and family, colleagues, and therefore are already not necessarily going to collaborate with strangers. And I think that's something we love to do. We love to get strangers to have a reason to play together and have a reason to understand, like, there's no huge stakes. We are here to have fun.
We're not going to embarrass you.
We're not going to embarrass you.
And I will say, like, I've seen it done beautifully before on a large scale. So I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just a very different,
right?
It's just a different design process than you would for 5 people in a room.
Yeah. I start thinking of, like, group dances, right? And like of the old ways, and it starts out with the partners, but then like rotates around, like, balls and whatnot of the like Edwardian stuff.
Noah, that is a great example, because I think immediately of Ghost Town Alive, and the hoedown at the end of the day is everyone's there. They've been playing the whole day. They may not have played with all the same characters or the same park goers, but at the end of that hoedown, they're trying to get everyone to line dance together, and a lot of people just line up and they just dance, and whoever's across from them, they dance with.
But they earned that over a whole day of play.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if we tried to do that
morning hoedown, everybody.
if you tried to do a hoedown first thing, disaster. And on the flip side, if we tried to do a hoedown with 5 strangers, like, that would be a really different process.
It's a heavy lift
to get those folks to dance together.
Yeah.
So it's just a really different process.
It takes a different design.
Yeah.
It's all about the design.
All right. We've talked about big picture stuff. We've talked about 40 watts. We're going to land the plane here in a second. We're going to come to the end of our broadcast day, as it were. Is there anything else about this show, about the way you put this one together, that's different from what you've done before, that you're glad you took a crack at this time?
The Coven.
The Coven. Jeff has been welcomed into a coven.
Oh.
We jokingly call it the Coven because we were like, this is a story about a badass woman. Let's tell it with as many badass women as possible. And at one point, Jeff was literally the only male identifying human working on the show.
That's right.
And well, I'm not going to speak for you. I feel like it was a cool experience for you.
Absolutely.
It was super intentional.
Super intentional. Everyone that is working with us is great. I don't know what else to go with that.
Well, I just remember there was a night where we were at the like food area at Wow Fest, and so it was very intentional from casting and when we were putting it together. But when we had finished our first run and we were all having dinner outside, and it was this table full of women talking about just this huge range of experiences of the immigrant experience and, being multilingual and coming from this kind of theater background, and what's it like to be a voiceover artist, and, what's it like to be an only child. Like, it was just like a huge range of these experiences. And Jeff is just at the end of the table, just, it was a new, I think you're in an industry that's what we both are. We all are in an industry that is cis, hetero, white, male dominated.
Yes.
And to sit at this table and be a part of this crew that very actively was, made up of badass women has been a really incredible experience for me. And I think also it was cool to watch you in that experience.
I highly recommend it. I endorse it. It's a great experience. And everyone's,
And it was inspired by the story and and I think the thing is that there's a long history of casting being, cis, straight, hetero, white, male is neutral and everything else is a choice. And we just shifted like, okay, we're just going to shift what our neutral is, and everything else other than that is a choice. That's
just generally like a great frame, like where's where's your center, like where's the center of perspective on this story, and so what aligns with that, and let's build that spine, and then if there's wings off of it, like that's a choice to deviate from the center point.
It's a really great way to build a community and to build a cast and to and this is in no way saying being exclusionary to any other type of human that works on our show, but we just wanted to shift what our neutral was.
Yeah.
And just by making that shift, I think this show is stronger for it. It tells the story in the way that we wanted to tell it, which was,
intentional.
40 Watts from Nowhere, coming to Silver Lake. When, how, we knew, because we already know who.
40 Watts from Nowhere is playing at a secret location in Silver Lake.
Secret. But Silver Lake is not big.
November 10th. Silver Lake we walked most of Silver Lake to look for a place. This is another conversation we should have. One day we will tell you about what took to find a secret location. 40 Watts from Nowhere, November 10th through December 18th. Ticket link is in the show notes, everybody.
I love it.
Or go bop on over to the Everything Immersive
.com.
Yeah, that was everythingimmersive.com. You can find it there.
And I've got good news for all the listeners.
Oh.
Patreon members will have access to a coupon code.
So it's really not good news for all the listeners. It's good news for the Patreon backers.
I assume all the listeners are Patreon members. Noah, is it possible that not all the listeners are Patreon members?
Well, yes. There may be a few people, and if they're here in Los Angeles...
Let's pretend I am not a Patreon member. It's not like it costs $2, does it?
It is $2 a month is where it start off. And you know what? If you wanna be that guy, you could pay $2, get your discount code. That coupon's going to be $5. So you could
pay $2 to save $5.
Saves $2 to save $5. You could go that way if you wanted to.
But also, if I became a Patreon member, would I get access to other coupon codes?
That has happened in the past, and it is our hope that it continues to happen in the future. Yes,
this seems like a great deal.
Yeah, and maybe there's very occasionally, some extra content in the podcast feed and other things, and maybe one day just a story about hunting locations in Silver Lake. Just like 30 minutes of that's tale.
Oh my God, it's a wild ride.
Okay,
Can't
yeah,
wait to share that.
That sounds like an actual fun bonus to do. So, I love a good Silver Lake story. So, I'm always trying to innovate over here. By which I mean I always think about doing stuff and then I don't. But
I really hope.
Wait, is that what innovating is? Then
that's exactly what.
Oh my gosh!
Then
I am an innovator.
You are a disruptor.
Oh wait, so disrupting is just thinking of things and not doing them? Then I am such a disruptor. Holy smokes!
No. Disrupting is innovating is when you think about things and don't do them. Disrupting is when you think about things, don't do them, but then tweet about them. So you got.
So I guess I'm just an innovator.
Yeah, you're just an innovator. Sorry, I lied to you.
I hope people innovate their credit cards to Patreon.
Okay, we don't have to go so hard. But yes, that is the good news. The coupon code's going to be in there, and that'll be right when tickets go on sale, which will be at some point not too long after this airs, we figure.
No, they will already be on sale.
I was going to go live after we recorded this because we open on November 10th.
Oh, that's true.
And it is October 17th.
Yeah. All right.
Tickets are already on sale.
Tickets are on sale.
And in fact, you might have already gotten the Patreon code.
In fact, you probably did. So probably you general listeners, you already know all that because it went out like a nice warning the night we recorded this. So, yeah.
If you have any pre-1998 CDs in their jewel cases and you're looking to get rid of them, please give them to us. We never have enough.
Offer good for all CDs except Dookie.
Oh, God, we have so many copies of Dookie. We're good, everybody.
Can I have one?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, because I don't have a CD copy of Dookie anymore.
Do you want 10 copies of Dookie?
No, I just want one that's not too scratched
Great,
up.
so 9 copies.
Okay, good. I'm not actually joking. I'm being serious. So.
Neither am I.
Yeah. No, I know. That's good. All right. So let's review. Patreon backers already know they got their codes because those codes went out when tickets went on sale, which is fantastic. So maybe it's already sold out. So check and see before, because that's a possibility.
Oh,
it could
from
be,
your mouth to God's ears.
Well, it could happen. It could happen. So I'm just always trying to avoid everyone joining the Patreon thinking they get something for free and then it's like, wait, I didn't get it. I want my $2 back, because someone out there is going to be that way. Not you. You're not. That
You'll get your $2, but we're going to pay you in Dookie CDs.
But that means
you need 2 Dookie CDs?
No, I was about to say that. You mean you need 200 Dookie CDs to pay someone?
Wow.
Just because there's so many of them.
Oh, we know.
Once again, I want to thank Andy and Jeff for being our guests on the podcast this week. As you can tell, we have a lot of fun when we get to talking with each other. In fact, I hung around in their living room for like another 2 hours afterwards. It was actually like, oh my goodness, this has been a minute. We had a grand old time, and I think that comes through. It was also this past Monday was just a great day for recording. I'll explain why in 1 second. But if you're in LA, like, please take my word for it. Particularly if you've already checked out their work, if you saw Escape from Godot, you know what they can do. You should snap up a ticket, and hopefully you're a Patreon backer and can grab that coupon and get a little something off of it. And if you haven't checked out Escape from Godot, if you didn't do that, if you don't know, you totally need to check this out. This is just really an incredible use of the form, and I'm delighted that so many of you are going to get to be introduced to their work for the first time. And right here in Los Angeles. And if you happen to be coming into town, if you're going to be traveling in during the time they're doing it, maybe, might be worth it. I'm not saying you should travel in specifically for this. It is only about an hour long show. Maybe not even an hour. It's just a little bit of time. Please don't do that. Some people are going to do it. That's okay. It's okay. You can do that. Maybe you're coming in for some other reason. Package it all together. Anyway, I'm hyped that this is coming along. I was super punchy during that interview because I had woken up that morning early and got myself together early because I had an interview with someone in London. And that person will be the subject of episode 366. So not next week's episode, but the one that's coming up after the bye week. So we get 365 next week, where we're actually talking with the CEO of Cosm, which is a company that's building dome centers around the country, starting with one here in Los Angeles. They actually have a really storied history. You see what I did there? I started going the other thing when you're like, who, London, 366, what's going on? So 365 is next week. It's Cosm. That was a really great interview with Jeb Terry. And I'm looking forward to sharing that one with you. And then we take a bye week while I'm in Denver for the Denver Immersive Gathering. And then it's Felix Barrett of Punch Drunk for episode 366. And just, first time we've had Felix on the show. And I got to say, it was a really great conversation. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that one with you as well. And something that was fun for me was that there were things that Jeff and Andy were talking about in this week's episode that resonated with things or even felt almost in response to things Felix was saying. Now, not really, because of course they weren't actually talking to each other, but the themes kind of came up, ideas exchanged. So when you get to that episode, hopefully you've listened to all of this episode. You listened to this part, I guess you did. And they play into each other in a couple of spots. And I'll do an irregular afterwards, after we do Felix's, and talk about, kind of what I saw, where, these two in conversation. So just some really exciting stuff coming here to the feed, exciting work coming to LA, and just really, the world isn't always easy, but I do get excited when our little corner of it seems to be doing well. And right now, that's the vibe I'm getting. So on that note, the associate producer of this podcast is Parker Sella. Music for No Proscenium is by Chris Porter of the Speakeasy Society and of Solar, the podcast. Special thanks to Siobhan O'Loughlin for voicing our intro. And this podcast is produced and voiced, and indeed, everything wrong with it is my fault. I am Noah Nelson, and until next time, I will see you at the show. I'm just gonna start recording. This will be the after material.
Great.
Right?
Okay.
So because I still got to do the intro. Okay. So what you do is you take your fist and you sort of imagine you're thinking of the thing like an ice cream cone. So like
What thing?
The microphone.
This is radio.
Right.
They can't see it.
I know. This is the after material though. No. So don't choke up too high on the mic. So you see that little band on the shore here below?
Yes.
So it says shore, and then there's a little band. Your hand underneath that band is good. Like you're good. You a little bit lower. Yeah.
That was to Andy,
yeah,
by the way.
Yeah. But so long as you're below the line, you're good there. And then you don't want to get a little bit because that's like heating the mic. You're getting ready to eat the ice cream cone. So you take your hand and about a fist away from the mic. Now, if you talk into it this way, no one can really hear what you're saying. It's just like
This is a
true.
spacer.
yeah, but it's a spacer. And then if you want to deal with plosives, which is a pop and peas, you just tilt a little side so you're talking past the microphone. This is also why.
This is good.
This is great.
This is good
Yeah.
shit.
Great radio-related content.
Yeah. This is also why I own P-pop screens, but I never use P-pop screens because I'm always talking past the mic. If I was talking directly in, I would totally need to use a P-pop screen. But it does change the quality of the sound that's
Sure.
picking up.
Oh,
But-
I should probably close that window because
It's
that dog is going to be really annoying.
It's okay.
You're all-
We're live and we're on scene. So
Great.
I don't mind. I actually kind of like stuff like that.
Do you like the sort of like location ambiance?
I do.
Get ready for our kid to wake up and give us some real location.
That's what we're getting
the
ready
pitter
for.
pat of 6-year-old feet.
All right. So that's the back matter. And now we're going to roll into the start.